Searching podcasts for Dave, and one more time.
Well, this week we were treated to a presidential debate. I thought I was watching a commercial for the Villages, or maybe Visiting Angels. On this July 4th, America will have been born 248 years ago, and our current president was apparently there to cut the umbilical cord. Good times, America. Good times. But don't worry, these two guys are here to make sense of a nonsensical world. They may not always be right, but at least they're not lying. This is Dave and Juan.
On 3,
Number 2.
we beat Medicare.
That's right.
Woohoo! Juan, whatever.
Woohoo!
Oh, man. I don't know what Juan just said, and I don't think he does either. Let's just get it all out of there. Hey, America, after the week you just had, after the blanket, the thick wool blanket that some of you have had over your eyes for so long, we are here, and you
And you're welcome.
are welcome. Oh, my goodness gracious. Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm Dave,
I'm Juan.
and this is Dave and Juan.
More time.
Thank you. It's, we chatted just before getting on here. It's not piling on. You can't pile on.
No, I mean, we started, you remember last week, we both said we weren't watching the debate.
And we both watched the debate.
Yeah.
I did not intend to. It just so happened my wife, she's more curious about these things than me. My plan was I'm just going to go back and watch.
Right.
but
Watch
it-
the clips.
But it started late enough that we sort of had things going on. And I'm like, well, let's see. Oh, what the heck? Poured myself a glass of wine, sat down. Let's see this. And I was just ready for the cringe factor. I don't know. I was waiting for the attack. I don't know what I was
I
expecting.
honestly thought look, I mean, we try to not be heavily political, but I don't think we hide our leanings.
Respectfully. That's
Right,
the
right,
thing.
right,
I'm
right.
I'm
I
all
don't care. You
for,
vote for who you want. That's
man,
what it's all
100%.
about.
I don't think you're stupid. Don't think I'm stupid. We have
Right.
different thoughts on things, but yeah.
I just thought the whole thing was going to be a trash fire all around. And if
yeah.
you go back to 4 years ago, the whole whatever the guy that used to be on Fox and now Wallace guy, I think I forgot.
Oh,
his
yeah,
name.
Chris
Chris
Wallace. I
Wallace.
think. Yeah.
That to me was a trash fire. It was a trash fire on both sides.
Mhm.
And I didn't want. I like politics. I like political debate. I don't like that.
It was unpleasant. Yeah, it's unpleasant. I don't like watching I don't like watching the screaming and the
Right. Let's say
personal-
nothing. Right.
and necessarily the personal insults. They had a few in this one, but it's more, talk about what you've done or going, that kind of stuff. So exactly. I was ready, sat down in the recliner, wife's in the recliner, just let's see what happens here. And I was a little bit thinking, okay, get ready for a trash fire. And bro, it didn't take 20 seconds. You weren't there. You were in your car.
I missed the first 20 minutes though. I haven't, but I still could go back and watch.
It had nothing to do. It had nothing to do.
No,
with
it was
what
a
said.
self-ignited. It was like going in there, one guy with lighter fluid on him, and the match.
What I'm saying, it had nothing to do with the first word said. When the poor gentleman walked out, if you call that walking, right? When he came out, I don't know if I can't remember if it was my wife or me or both of us that kind of gasped, like, what the?
8 days of rest for that.
It looked Saturday Night Live was never that mean to George Bush. Like they
No.
would, like, that was so they're like, oh, well, let's see. And then it starts and my phone starts blowing up. Not just I'm texting with you and Rick, but I got other people back and just people.
Imagine if Rush Limbaugh was still alive.
Well, he'd have done better in the debate than. So here's
the
the
whole
thing with it.
walkout thing. And then look, I can get all right. Like they showed the clip after, her helping him down the stairs. All right, I got bad knees. I can get that.
Well,
The the but the I joke because I talk about, I like my bedroom to be really dark at night. So if I laughed at myself the other night because I got up to go to the restroom because it's dark. So I'm feeling my way around. And that's how I move my feet. It's that little shuffle thing to make sure I'm not about to trip on anything.
so they got bigger issues at here, and we're talking under the assumption that people that are watching this either saw the first and it will be the last presidential
Yeah,
debate.
there's no way. First of all, I think Trump ought to say right now, hey,
Oh,
out of kindness and sympathy,
doesn't
I'm
have
out.
to, but so they're going to replace them. I mean, that's happening, y'all. Said this before. The only reason they did a debate this early was to give them the out, because it's still going to be tough. But sometimes rules don't count. They break laws. It doesn't matter. He is going to be out. But those of you that are not caught up on what we're talking about, there was this presidential debate, and it was beyond belief.
It
It
was
was
sad.
it was
It
it was it
I-
was
if you have a human heart, you felt, for the man up there,
it was elder
and
abuse. It was
for
elder
anger
abuse.
at the people who allowed him to do it. Now, from the political aspect, of like, hey, you know what? You reap what you sow. But as a human,
Yeah.
it's like
And
this
here
is sad.
but
I
here's
mean,
the
he could
deal.
have won. The only thing he could have won was a staring contest.
Well, yeah, I mean his pupils are so dilated. I mean, it was
Right.
obvious.
My guess was they shot him up with so much Botox he
Oh,
couldn't even blink.
well, I don't even know what was going on there. And he definitely had an earpiece in. Now he supposedly he does wear hearing aids, right? But there was obvious at one time where he kind of put his finger up to his,
Hmm.
you could just tell him listening. It was, and even after one of the people at CNN kind of slipped and said something about he knew all these questions were coming. I mean, like basically, so we all knew that. We all knew that it was going to be a total setup, or thought anyway. Um, Bizarro stuff that comes out, because as it turns out, the moderators were pretty good.
Yeah,
Like freaking Jake Tapper and what's her name, Dana Back. I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
dude. Yeah.
so, but I think, and this is
I mean,
just me.
I think that's what moderators should be.
I thought,
You
I
ask
thought,
the question and get out of the way.
I thought they were great. I thought it was funny on more than one occasion, and I think it happened with Biden more than Trump. Okay, you've got 82 seconds left. Would you like to, right?
If you haven't seen the clip of Jon Stewart from
Well, yeah.
Jon Stewart did something Thursday, like after Thursday night, where he's on there and he said, you know, abortion, that's our issue. Here we come. Here we come. Here we come. Mr. President, you've got 82 seconds.
Yeah.
It's
Of
like,
course,
what?
I think I've said this before. I think Jon Stewart 100 years ago was a pretty funny guy. I think he's a hack now.
Well,
What I
he
Here's where
flips
the
on
anger
it, but
comes though. Here's what people need to understand. So while you're sitting there watching this and literally feeling bad for someone that, if you want to look at the track record and stuff, you can debate whether or not somebody deserves sympathy. Okay. But in this case, you're looking at what, like I said, all I could think of was elder abuse. It would look terrible.
right. And people who have watched this before, or more than once, know we both have parents who are up there in
Yes,
age.
correct. Oh, but I told my
If
mom. I talked to my mom that night, and I said, "Mom, I said you could have been sitting on that stage and had no idea what the questions were. You would have done better
right,
in that debate, because my mom would have said, "Oh man, we're just gonna do what's right." I
yeah,
mean, do what makes some sense. You hire people that know what they're doing. It's what you pay them for. We're gonna be fair. I guarantee you, my mom would have done better in the debate than okay.
but if
With the point.
somebody would have done that to your mom,
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
You could come and meet.
you wouldn't have tolerated it.
Here's where the anger, and this is the thing. So this is where folks have to, I don't care what side you on, here's where the anger needs to come in. And then forget Jill Biden. She's Lady Macbeth. She's like, once they got power, they got power. I'm not even, yes, it's terrible. You can't say you care for somebody and are doing, then she drug his butt to a Waffle House after,
Yeah. After, and then did you see the post thing where she's saying, "You did so good.
Like he's a
And I
toddler.
showed it to my wife, who is totally apolitical,
Right,
who
right.
wouldn't have known there was a debate or who was in it. And she teaches special needs kids, and I showed her that clip, and she said, "That's how I talk to my students." And I said, "There you go."
And like you said, you're special needs students.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but here's where the anger needs to come, folks. And like I said, it's not at Biden, it's not even at his family, although whatever. The anger needs to come to all the people that have been lying,
all
and
right.
we know they've been lying and lying and lying. And it kind of goes back to David Juan mantra over 3 years,
Yeah,
telling everybody, hey,
yeah,
everybody's
they're all
lying, y'all.
lying.
Everybody's got their agenda. They're all lying. But to pretend, that was the funny thing to me after. And I have never, dude, I have not watched CNN more than clips. I see CNN clips all the time. See, as opposed to, it's interesting. I always talk about, like, political debates or whatever side you're on. I see a lot of everything, mostly
Mhm.
through clips, right?
Yeah,
I won't sit there
yeah.
and
It's
watch it.
how nowadays how most people get
Okay.
their news.
So I've seen tons of it, tons of it. And for these people to sit there and pretend that this was a surprise or that this came out of left field, that's where the anger needs to come. And that goes, dude. I've been seeing some more serious people besides political commentators, some more serious people putting things out there saying, y'all, I don't think y'all understand what just happened here. Now, we've been talking about it, and I'm going to bet, Russia, China, they all know about it already. But we basically just showed the world
Right.
that the person supposedly in charge of the biggest military in the world, the person with the codes, the person that, right, is
The
not.
person that would have you, or the people who would have others and us believe that those evil people in the world are, yeah, hesitant to do anything because of this guy.
So what they did is they basically created a national security issue
Hmm.
right there on live TV, and somebody needs to be held. Not that they're going
Right.
to be
There were
held
people
accountable.
saying that the alert level should be higher, or should have
That's
gone
right.
up Friday morning
I saw somebody
after
talking
Thursday.
this morning singing, I forget which fleet it is, and it's a military, whatever, but the folks we have out there near Taiwan are the closest people that would have to react to Taiwan. Well, they basically said, I hope to goodness last night somebody, after they went through all the pronoun studies and whatever it is that that now that's all we see,
Yeah.
that somebody put somebody on higher alert because it's so there you go. I remember this. It was like in 2016, and we've talked about this before. So it was the Trump Clinton election, and if all you did was watch the networks, the news, or whatever the big papers are, it's supposed to be a landslide, right? It's supposed to be a landslide. I do a little bit of traveling, Sometimes I do a lot of traveling. I'm around the country. I try to pay attention to everything.
Hmm.
And I can remember back then saying, he's got a shot, y'all. Like I remember just talking with various people, oh, it's over. And I'm like, I have one of my really good friends, and we still joke about this. We're in New Orleans for something we were doing, and really good friend. We're like breakfast on the way to the Saints game or something, and he just looked at me because he believed Clinton was the person. He says, "It's over, bro. Just forget about it. It's over." I remember him telling you it's over, and I'm like, I don't think it is. I think he's got it. So anyway, 2016 happens, right? And a buddy of mine is he's since left them, but he was an editor of a pretty big paper up in New York. It's kind of weird some of the friends I have where they come from. Like, I mean, just like so, and so that's going to be that's the press, that's New York,
Yeah.
that's okay. And it's a freaking bubble. And he's a good dude. He's sort of down the middle. And I always used to joke with him that I always figured I could tell which way he leaned because it wasn't obvious. Because certain people, they're obvious, right? And if you're working in New York in the
Yeah.
media
And you
press,
hide it.
okay. But he had emailed me saying, man, I cannot believe what's the reactions going on around here. And what I told him was, here's the deal. I will buy from you if you are disappointed, angry, depressed. Give me all these emotions, and I can say, sure, that's um, You know, that's human, right? You have your personal
Right, right.
you know, but I said, if you tell me you're surprised, that's an indictment on you, right? That's the bubble you're living in because, right? So if
Yeah, I knew
anybody,
there was going to be no middle ground. And I sat here and said, everybody talked about the State of the Union. Well, the State of the Union, he read for an hour. Uh,
oh yeah,
that's different than standing up there and even answer. Not now, who is it? Jim Clyburn said this morning that, oh, he was overprepared was the problem. Yeah.
you,
Yeah. That's the
it's when you have
problem.
to say you mispronounce medicated. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, and look, and it's sort of, and it's not even, here's the deal too. It's like, you almost feel bad point. And it's not like we're unique here because we're doing this on a Sunday. The
Yeah.
debate,
You've had 2-3 days before you
oh,
see
just
this
all
of it.
people are doing are just dissecting this. But
And
no,
like
that's,
you, I'm gonna bet more CNN's viewership and clicks in the past 3 days
oh,
have probably exceeded, what they've had in the past few years combined. Because people like you and me who never really pay attention to CNN other than in passing, are like, hey, I got to go see what they're saying now.
oh, exactly. Well, it's for what they call Schadenfreude, right? You just,
Yeah, yeah. Like I
you
watched it and we were texting after it. I watched CNN coverage. Um, Thursday night. I stayed up and I told you the last time I watched this much post event coverage of anything was when the Saints won the Super Bowl. I stayed up past midnight Thursday just watching it because I was just not at what they were saying, but the fact that they were actually saying it.
it well because okay, that comes. I don't want to say it's full circle, but that gets to what this is too, folks. We like again, it's the mantra. They're all lying.
Hmm.
Understand that. Also, that was basically, in my opinion, a planned public execution. They allowed that to happen, and they all got on the same script really fast, right? All of a sudden, shockingly, it's time because I don't know if it was one or two things. It was either the greatest miscalculation in the history of whatever, or no, this is what was meant to be because it didn't take what, a day for the New York Times, which is basically
Right.
that's just that's Pravda for they are what they are, and they've got their they set the agenda for so much of the media, and when they start calling on he's got to go.
Right.
Um,
Atlanta Journal Constitution did the same thing yesterday.
that paper's still around. I used to read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But they that was one of the funny memes that I think I'd shared it with you. It said Democrats haven't had such a bad day in Atlanta since Sherman was leading an army. That's history
One of my
lesson, I
favorite
guess.
memes was the last time the closed captioners had this much trouble was when Coach O was at LSU.
Well, listen. But here's the flip side of that. I got no doubt that both sides well, I don't know. I don't know how dumb both sides. One side I disagree with, but I think they're shrewder. They're more political savvy. I think the establishment GOP anyway are pretty well, they're clueless in their own too. That's what's
Yeah.
interesting here. This has become and who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody this past week, and you just sort of things you figure out over time, because we're raised, and all you know is what you see on TV. All you
Mhm.
know is what God
What you
help
hear,
us.
what you read. Yeah.
God help us if you have any classes in college where they talk about this, because you just you don't. In the back in the old days, you might have had sort of both sides, but now you don't get any of that. But now what I realize is, looking back, there wasn't $5 difference between Kennedy and Nixon. Those guys were about the same.
No,
They
right. And they
they were
always
they were
told
like,
you
correct?
that they said if you read the transcript,
Yeah,
Nixon killed it. If you heard it on radio, Nixon killed it. If you watched it,
right.
JFK won.
Now that way, I'm just using that one as an
Mhm.
example because JFK was an attractive guy. He got a suntan. He even said that he went get a he went sit in the sun before the thing. Nixon actually was kind of sick. He was kind of pale, whatever.
He
So
was
okay, you have.
sweaty and
But when I say that $5 difference between them, I'm not just talking about the performance. I'm talking about they were both very American.
right.
They had different maybe priorities.
They had different foundational beliefs.
but right, it was like whoever won was still, and that's somebody, and I wish I could remember who said it, but it was a
Well,
good point.
I used to explain the differences with religion. I would say, okay, we're all going, we all have, the same destination in mind. We just, some of us take different routes to get there. And
Yeah.
I think in the old days of politics, that was probably accurate. Now,
It
no.
shouldn't matter. That was the point somebody was going to make. Honestly, the presidential election, if it shouldn't matter that much. It should be like, okay, whoever wins, all right, we're going to get more of these kind of policies now, or we're going to get more of this now. But everything, but what's happened is over time, and I know we've talked about this before, is there really aren't two parties. We claim there are two parties. Now, one side is trying to reclaim a party, but
Mhm.
whether you were a Democrat or Republican in the past, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years, the people in charge, they're the same people. They just flip flop every now and then about who gets to get a little
Yeah,
more
whose
graft.
turn is it?
Oh, exactly. Who gets, because it just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, taxes always go up, regulations always go right, and so it's gonna be some interesting times, y'all. I got some stuff coming up now. I'm looking, on the calendar and various trips and everything. I'm kind of excited about, and part of me is like, hmm, what city's that in? What month is that?
It'll be, well, here, I'll tell you, because you talk about college students. I work with this girl who just graduated from LSU in May. She's been interning with us for a while, but yeah, she's full time and she does social media. Um, and yeah, so she was in College of Liberal Arts College in, communication, a pretty liberal
Sure,
field, I would
sure.
think. So I asked Thursday, I said, "Hey, you going to watch the debate?" He says, "I didn't even know there was a debate. What are you talking about?" And I said, "The presidential debate." She said, I don't vote or anything." And she said, she's from New Orleans. Said, why would I go all the way to New Orleans to vote? I live here. I said, "Well, why don't you just change your
Right.
registration to here or whatever?" I said, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "Well, yeah, whatever. You do you." Friday morning when I got to work, she like came barreling into my office and she said, "Oh my God, I was at my boyfriend's house and his dad had it on." That was so, and again, pathetic on Biden. So
Yeah.
even people who, and that's probably more average college kid, I think, who, yeah, I don't pay attention. And if I did,
I'm still stuck on the fact you said a college educated person did not know there was a presidential debate this week. Kind of makes me question, like, what are we doing, Juan? Like, why that sounds like a better life, I think, I'm just
yeah,
watching TikTok videos all day. I don't know what how that works, but so interesting times are here.
yeah, that was from a medical standpoint. If you look at it, every facial expression with the hanging jaw, the eyes aglaze.
Man, look. I read, and some put some pretty smart stuff out after, and there's one guy, just basically, and it was sort of an open letter to Joe Biden, and obviously what the angle is, basically pointing out what are don't pretend that you care about this person, or don't
Right.
pretend, and he went down a checklist, and he basically says, I am not trying to diagnose whatever, but, and he just went down this long list of, and he said, like we said, he had people in his family. I think his mom had Alzheimer's. And that's what a lot of people, you talk to anybody who has friends or family who have seen it, and they've been calling that for a while. It's like, and it's a cruel, cruel thing. But you know what happens when you have somebody that's that incapacitated? You don't let them drive. You don't
Right.
let them. You can't leave them alone. You can't. It's just, and we're being told that this,
Yeah, yeah, we're letting him lead the free world.
Well, that's the good question, and that's the thing that just
And
people.
are we?
Well, no, that's what just comes back. People are just asking, and I think it's a very, very valid question. All right, who's running things?
Yeah.
That's just a very, because don't right. You can't even pretend. You can't tell us, is this poor guy who's running things?
But
It's
to me, here's the dilemma. Because I'm sitting there saying, can a guy, should he be sitting there for 4 more months or however long it is? And then a lot of the Democrats, well, that would mean Kamala would have to step up, which
Yep.
would mean Kamala would then be the the logical nominee.
Oh, it's a mess. Yeah.
But then the other people were saying, who said, well, if they're going to replace him, they can't skip over Kamala.
You know what? How do you?
Yeah.
How do you? But you saw who was in the audience? Gavin Newsom.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That
Good.
guy.
Go ahead and get him. Yeah.
Smiling like, oh, he was so happy.
I saw something today. They interviewed Adam Carolla, who hates.
No. I think Gavin Newsom and Carolla were on the same.
Oh, Carolla. Oh, were they?
Yeah. Adam Carolla very calmly just crushed him.
Well, the quote that I read, and again, I just looked at it right before, we started this, where he said, Gavin Newsom, or it would be like if Gavin Newsom opened the worst taco stand in California and then decided to franchise.
Well, you're getting a little bit of that. And then we're gonna get off it. Well, it's hard to get off totally the subject, but I think what was funny was, I think by far the most passionate. Well, Joe got like angry at first. He was really, I mean, he had some anger at him a couple times, and Trump's just. But was when he talked about his handicap in golf.
That was.
And I'm like, well, let me take that back. One of the other most bizarro things was when somebody saying, "I didn't sleep with a prostitute." That was. I was like, okay, somebody needs to play the bingo card. Let's go back in the history of presidential.
Yeah.
No, it is his defense. He didn't bring it up. He was just accused of doing that. And he was like,
right.
But he was not. I think the most angry and standoffish Trump was when Biden tried to pretend he had a 6 handicap. And when he said,
and then the whole thing, I'll play you, but you got to carry your own bag. I bet you can't do that. like Biden could carry a golf bag.
Well, that's when.
But it was hilarious. Yeah, I've seen you drive. Get in the ball 50 yards.
Somebody pointed out, and it was. And again, it's clips. It shows I don't watch. It's like Bill Maher. I think Bill Maher's a very funny guy. And
I only watch clips of Bill Maher.
Well, and I actually listened to his podcast, watch his podcast. He calls Club Random, I think it is.
Yeah.
Because he has some really good guests on there. And he's extremely funny. Now, I have a couple of huge, he's the over-the-top atheist.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that, just aggressively atheist. So I got issue with that. I'm like, my attitude on stuff like that is, okay, bro, look, that's fine. And, I'm not even going to judge you. Stop it.
You can go to hell. Don't try to bring me with you.
Well, just stop picking the fight. Like, okay, man, that's, don't, I get annoyed when people want to paint certain people that just, they're stupid because of what they believe or whatever. Anyway, that, and he's beyond liberal. Like he's smart.
He's old school liberal. He's old school liberal. He hates all the woke stuff.
He's smart and he's funny, but he had a show on. He had Tulsi Gabbard, who I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Matthews, who I used to watch religiously. You remember Chris Matthews?
Yeah, when he got the tingling down his leg, his pants leg.
Okay, he was starting to go crazy around then. But I used to watch when I was doing a ton of traveling in the late 90s, because everything he was probably, obviously, he used to work for Tip O'Neill, and he's always been, but people used to be, you could sense what their leanings were.
Right.
But it was, people I think had more respect for everybody by not just.
Who was the guy, or I guess ABC, or maybe the NBC, the one that he passed away, but he used to be their main political guy.
Russert, Tim Russert.
Yeah, I used to respect that guy.
He was one of those guys, and Tim Russert was very, very liberal guy, but you know what I'm saying? And that's, I think, what most people want, or somebody that's very conservative. Just play fair. It's okay if we know what your leanings are. Just don't distort. Don't be the View. Don't be that. But anyway, what was really funny, brilliant. Maher was talking to Tulsi Gabbard and Chris Matthews, and they showed the clip, and they talked about, and even Matthews, who cannot stand Trump, pointed out how savvy he was in understanding visuals and stuff. Because one of the times, so they're split screen. So Trump knows, they're on a split screen. You might be able to see it. And whenever, a couple times, when Biden would just get stuck or just start wow, we've had a misfire there. What's coming out of his mouth? Trump would put a curious look on his face and turn to look at Biden. basically, so if you're watching, if it's a split screen,
Right. That's
exactly. Well, that's the point. So he wants to make sure that everybody that he either wants the screen just on Biden, so the world is like, listen to this guy.
yeah.
And if you're going to try to dilute that by putting a two screen, I'm going to turn my head with a curious look and point it because it's like, I want you. Somebody else tweeted that saying, man, Trump ought to just cede all his time. He ought to just like,
Yeah, I'm good.
would you like to respond? No, you know what? Give him another 60. Because this is turning out,
I
but
think Trump was, surprised at how easy it was.
I think he probably felt like I felt back in the day sometimes when I'd be go play a tennis match or something, and man, I'm all amped up and I'm all nervous and I'm all because I don't know who this person is, this school is, whatever. And you get out there and you play the first 5 minutes and you realize, oh, I got this guy. You're like,
Well,
and then it
that's the thing,
becomes
because
fun.
everybody said, what does Trump need to do, differently, not be an a-hole. And Biden needs to just make it through. But I think he read it that, okay, if I'm an a-hole now, yeah, it'll make me look worse than he's making himself look.
It totally worked to his favor. Not having a crowd there totally worked to his favor
Yeah.
because what happens is he's a showman and he starts playing to the crowd. And when he starts playing to the crowd, he's not as
Right.
worried about what it is he's saying. He just wants the reaction. So you took that out. So that calmed him down. The mics were off. Right.
Yeah,
So
and the announcers basically sounded like the moderators' mics were off.
well, I honestly think the moderators were so horrified. I really do. I really think that they were just thinking, all right, we'll get through this. And I want to say 5 minutes in, well, like I said, the line of the night. I'm sorry, the line to me of right up there with senator or congressman. I knew Jack Kennedy. I was friends with Jack Kennedy. You're no Jack Kennedy. Okay, that was a famous line. When Reagan said, "I will not hold my opponent's youth and inexperience against them." Right. Those lines are right up there. When he says, "I really don't know what he said at the end there," and I don't think he does. I don't think he does either.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know if he had that planted or that was just.
No, I bet not. And because I was going to say those other lines were scripted.
Yeah, no, that was just.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, okay, if there's a mic drop, there's the mic drop. So yeah. So we'll see as our nation prepares to celebrate our date of
independence.
Independence. Let's just hope that
hope we still are.
The explosives we hear on July 4th are just happy Americans setting off fireworks and not the world deciding to make its move now. But we have 4th of July coming up. Also we celebrate the birth of our country and the birth of my mother-in-law.
Okay. She was born on the 4th of July.
Yep. Happy birthday, Miss Carol. Let's go.
You and I went to see a movie one time celebrating her birthday.
That's right. Did we go to that movie?
No. We went. No. We went to the.
Wasn't it Good Morning Vietnam?
Good Morning Vietnam. That was the movie we went to.
I remember that. I was dating somebody at the time. And
somebody else? Yep.
Yeah, we were both
dating somebody who I married at the time. And...
I was dating somebody I did not.
Right.
Happily did not. I do remember that movie because remember we were stupid, or I was stupid. You were just distracted. We got there early because we knew the movie would sell out, and we bought tickets. But back in those days, they weren't assigned seats.
All right.
So when we came back late, we went play around.
That's right. We had to sit
We sat in the front row. We watched Good Morning Vietnam on a big screen in the front. Oh my gosh, I was almost nauseous watching that. But it's funny how that stuff comes back. But anyway, so 4th of July coming up. I will be in Thibodaux. I'm going to be going down.
I was in Thibodaux yesterday, and I forgot that the Manning Academy is this weekend.
Yeah, I guess it wrapped. It must have wrapped today.
Today. Belichick was there. I don't know if
Belichick was there.
I don't know if he brought that 21-year-old girlfriend or however old she is.
My son. I texted my son during the week. I had a picture of it. I said, "Hey man, looks like Belichick's just down the street from you." And he texted me right back. He's probably at the girls' dorm.
I probably drove by. I went a friend of mine's mom passed. I just went to the service for a little bit. But I joked. I told my wife when I got back, I said, it's funny because the sad thing about services like this. It's, I mean, my friend lives in Pennsylvania, so I seldom see him. But so these things you go for reunion type
Oh,
aspects
sure.
of it. Um, and I even said, man, I didn't even know his mom, but I'd really like to see him. So I think I'm gonna go. Um, but 4 or 5 different conversations I was in, and I guess it's, indicative of my age, becomes with, hey man, what are you up to? When are you retiring?
When you're retiring, huh?
And everybody's trying to plan, decide, and said, how long can I go? I don't know. That's
Yeah, I
just
don't know. It's kind of funny. Well, that's about the age we're at,
Yeah,
man. I
but you're
mean,
still
because
younger, so you're still in your
I'm
50s.
a little younger, but I mean, yeah. So I'm not quite knocking on mandatory well, not that I have any
Retirement.
mandatory. I guess it's my own
No,
little company, but I mean,
right.
um, but I start thinking about that. I've been thinking about how many more runs I got in me. Maybe one more. Do we do another career thing just to be stupid, just like to prove you can? Because that's what
I said that to my wife today. I said, it's probably too old to change. But there's a part of me that said, hey, you know what? I wonder
Why
if
not?
I'll
You were too
settle
old to
go for
change
that.
last time.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
Too old keeps moving. I mean,
Yeah,
up at
but I mean, I would really, yeah, I think at some point in my life, I would like a job that didn't, that was just, you did what you did. You did what you didn't have to think or make, like create things or, just go out there and, you
man,
know,
look, I get, and again, everybody, nobody needs to know what different things, but so the job I have or what else stuff I do, it involves a lot of writing, a lot of deadlines, a lot of producing. I was like 10 minutes before we came on, or today while I'm doing stuff, I remembered, oh man, I got a podcast I'm supposed to do for work. I'm getting
yeah,
ready to do this one. And I realized, oh crap, I was supposed to get something to somebody yesterday. I mean, okay, what is what it is. I mean, it's all good, but yeah, I think about that sometimes. It'd be like, boy, it'd be kind of nice not to have to. But after 30
like
years
I
of,
said, give me an aisle at Home Depot or Lowe's.
you know what? But that can't be as low stress as I would think it'd be. But it could be low stress if you don't need the job. You know what
Right,
I'm
right.
saying? I,
Yeah,
I
I think the stress part would be is like, I can't live off of this.
well, exactly.
Um,
No. You got to try to get to a part where like, well, I don't
yeah,
need this. I want to, but
I still want to do something, and this is, all I
it's
need to
all
know
first
is
world.
whether, number 9 Phillips head or
First world problems, man. I mean, I get that way a lot. I'm like staring at a computer screen or I'm doing something and I'm just like, man, when you've written 2,000 columns, it's sometimes
yeah,
difficult to come up with. That's why I love when something new happens because then I can just like take a new story and tie an old theme or a familiar theme to it. You got to figure, but I'll get all fried and tired and annoyed. And I'm like, well, nobody made me dig a ditch today.
yeah.
Nobody,
There's that.
nobody called and screamed at me on the phone. Nobody, so you know, you
Yeah,
go with,
or you could be like JaMarus Russell
oh
and
gosh. Oh
and
gosh.
volunteer to be a high school coach and get fired from being a volunteer. Did you see that?
Oh, JaMarus Russell.
Yeah.
So exactly. Volunteers at his high school. Do you remember, do you catch what, is that in
It,
Louisiana?
it's in Mobile, Alabama.
In Mobile, Alabama. So he, ex NFL football quarterback. He was the starting quarterback for the LSU Tigers, number one pick
Number
in the
one,
draft,
also the
argued
number
by
one
many
biggest
to
draft bust.
exactly, exactly, argued by many to be the number one draft bust in the history of drafts. But he made at least 30 something $1 million. Now, granted, you knew that was never going to stay with him just because,
Right, right.
but so apparently
You
he volunteers.
spent it all on purple drink.
Purple drank. He volunteered at his high school, his old high school,
His high school alma mater as a football coach there.
and then apparently hit up a local business person for donation.
75,000. Jamarcus out there using his name to benefit his school.
$75,000 to buy new equipment for the high school football team. And then he takes that check and brings it to a credit union. I just thought it was kind of cute that they pointed out it was a credit union. And then took out 50 something.
I think $74,000.
Okay. And he took out
He
50 something $1,000
took
and
out 50 something. Yeah.
cashed it.
He probably thought he could get a deal on the equipment since he was JaMarus Russell,
That's right. I can get this equipment cheaper if I pay it cash.
right? So look, this is what he wanted to buy. I'm gonna buy it.
And
What am I
then,
gonna do with all this extra money?
and then apparently the business called the school to say, "Hey, I want to make sure you got the donation." And they're
Yeah.
like, "What donation?" And so turned in Marcus, and then he
Yeah.
tried to show up. Apparently, they had to bar him from the premises. So glad to see JaMarcus is still out there making fantastic decisions. Um, I jotted this down too, and again, it's sort of skipping around, but it's going to get us off a little bit off of the debate. We're going to get a little bit off of the debate and talk more about how they're just ruining the country. Because I saw this and it was like, did you know that there's been a musical on Broadway? Huey Lewis and the News
No, did not.
have had a musical. I heard about it.
I thought Huey couldn't sing anymore.
Well, no, he produces it, right? So it's a Broadway
Okay.
play, and I think it's called The Heart of Rock and Roll. I got to see if I can find it here. It's one of those things. I take the pictures. I take a picture of something to try to come back to it later. But anyway, he's talking about. Show the show closed. Okay, and after I said it was the best reviewed show of the year so far, but it closed. And why do shows close, Juan?
No money.
Exactly. They don't close because they're not good. They don't close because all of the theater critics don't show up and say how wonderful stuff is, but they close because they just can't sell tickets. And here's Huey Lewis post. He says, obviously, we are disappointed that the Broadway run of Heart of Rock and Roll on Broadway ended so soon, but this was only the beginning of the plans. Anyway, they performed 100 shows, which is more than most these days. It got best reviewed play, apparently, of the season. But then he pointed out, and of course, I don't follow this stuff, other plays. Like there's been a play called Mother Play starring Jessica Lange. Remember her? Jessica Lange. Okay, and she's probably older, but and Jim Parsons, the guy that played Leonard.
Yeah.
They were in a play, right? Multiple Tony nominations. It closed after 58 performances. Mary Jane, starring Rachel McAdams. I should know who she is, and that name rings a bell.
I know the name.
Okay. Multiple Tony nominations, closed after only 71 performances. Uncle Vanya, starring Steve Carell. Steve freaking Carell, man.
No.
Michael Scott of The Office, right? Tony nomination, closed after 49 performances. Patriots, I don't know that one, but that one closed. Enemy of the People, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, just points out all these plays. Why are these plays closing, y'all? Nobody's
going to see
and
them.
they're lying to you about the status of things there. Now, the same week this is going on, I'll pull this up. And again, nothing against this person because she's doing what she's doing, but this guy is interviewing a young lady from Venezuela. She's from Venezuela. She's staying right now in one of the New York City hotels, which they tell us 50%
What?
of the hotel space in New York right now, we're paying for. You're paying for.
Right. You're welcome.
To put people, right?
Yeah. You can't stay there.
And you got to, and she's just like, and she's basically explaining to the guy, says, she can pretty much stay as long as she wants. They give her 60 days, and then after 60 days, they have to renew the application for another. So I don't know how long she's been there, but they just, every 60 days, they just have to fill out saying, yeah, no, still need a place to stay. So she's been there months. They're feeding them every day, 3 meals a day. They're catering, feeding everybody, and giving them $600 a month. Spending money, little walking around money, little jingle in your pocket.
Here's the whole deal. I'd have zero against that if you gave me all that same amount of money.
Well, you could, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Just give it to me as a tax deduction or tax credit, whatever you want.
So, and I mean, it's not the same. And again, I'm saying, like, I'm just giving an example of why New York is
Nobody wants to go there.
in a death spiral. Dude, we're supposed to go next year. My older son is one of these things they do, big group, and they go sing and perform at Carnegie Hall. And one of the best trips we've ever taken was back in, I think, 2018. He sang at Carnegie Hall on Father's Day. I remember back. It was a fantastic trip, dude. He sent the money and all the room. He's sort of like booked to go, but I'm like, Pump your brakes there, buddy. Let's see what let's I know what it looks like now. Let's see what it looks like in
Yeah.
a year. But
Well, did you see? And I didn't. I heard more of a response to it than what it actually was. I guess one of the Supreme Court's rulings this week was that it is lawful to make homeless people get off the streets.
correct. It's and I'm trying to forget because there's some big ones this week. There was one called the Chevron case, the
Yeah.
Chevron whatever. That was a huge that
Right.
was so that was basically a tremendous shot to the administrative state, basically saying
Right.
we can't have unelected agencies just basically writing their own laws. It has to
Right.
go to
They
Congress.
write laws to be able to persecute somebody.
Correct. There's another huge one that's going to drop tomorrow
Tomorrow morning, probably.
about presidential,
Yeah.
not
Immunity.
amnesty, presidential
Presidential immunity.
immunity. Correct. But the one you're talking about, yeah, where they're basically saying cities.
Right. You're not lawfully, or you're not lawfully obliged to let someone live on the street in
That's
front
right.
of your business, block the
Mayors,
entrance.
mayors,
Right.
and local whatever. No, they have no right to take public lands and say, sure,
Right, sorry.
that's
And somebody, I guess, whatever the newest justice, I think, in the dissenting opinion, stated that people have the right to sleep. And
breathe
so,
and breathe.
right.
You got to,
So,
you have to breathe. So you have to be
But-
somewhere.
So I heard an interview yesterday with a mayor of. It's in California, so it's got to be at least fairly liberal, but he's moderate guy, and he said that in his city, they've got homeless shelters, and on average, they've got 50 beds a night empty
Sure.
in the homeless shelters. And he said what this proves is the reason they're sleeping on the streets is not because they don't have a bed to sleep in. It's
No.
because they don't want to follow the rules that it requires, that you can't be on drugs, you can't be on alcohol.
You can't be doing certain things out there.
Right,
Look,
can't be
yeah,
doing-
100. Look, it is.
And so his point was what we always say. So here's a guy who in his city has the proof.
Yeah. Look, the most inhumane, it's an argument you can have with people. It's like having people living in squalor, living in danger, being totally always either preyed upon or preying upon others.
Right.
But that is not humane. This
Right, you give them
idea,
clean needles.
what was that?
Give them clean needles.
Yeah, that's not humane. That's so. Well, let's put it this way. In our opinion, that's not humane. Now,
Right.
if you think that's but yeah, I tell you, Juan, we need the Saints. We need the Saints season to start or something, man. I mean, we gotta take our. Well, that'll be right when the election. It's be getting. That'll be fun.
Yeah, if the Saints win, then it'd be bad. Imagine if everything goes my way this year.
I don't know. We'll see. I might be. This might be one of my more involved NFL. 'Cause, like I'm back with season tickets to the Texans, so
Oh, okay.
we're going to be seeing those. And I think I'm supposed to be. I think we're going to make the first Saints game of the
Saints game.
year, and so get ready, New Orleans. I'm coming in that first weekend.
So why are the Rangers playing as the Texans? Somewhere the other night.
Why are the what now?
The Rangers, the baseball team.
Texas Rangers.
Yeah, they had Texans on their jerseys the other day.
They were probably originally called that. They're sort of like
Okay.
the Astros. I think at one time with the Colt 45s.
They were. Good point. Yeah.
Right. So you just end up with it's about moving merch, dude.
Mhm.
It's about selling merch. Oh, here's something too. It's funny. I don't know if this hit my feed because I mentioned something about something like this last week. But I was reading here, this guy was talking about a replication crisis. And at first when someone said replication crisis, I thought that must be some kind of like population, like, oh, we're not reproducing. Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought it was at first. I've seen that, like we're not
we're not making enough babies.
We ain't having enough babies anymore. But no,
Sorry, ladies.
Yeah. That's right. But the replication crisis, and this is so true. And this guy was pointing out, and he gives the stats of which, like it might have been Virginia Tech or which professor who it was that was doing this. but taking like 100 of the most either recent or anyway the studies, you get, researchers, professors, have to get published, and they publish their experiments, right? Their
Their
research.
findings. Yeah.
So what these people have been trying to do is replicate it, right? Meaning, if you do an experiment, basically you're saying, hey, this is what we do, this is what we find,
Right.
this is
You've got to be
what
able to
this means.
replicate it.
So it has to be able to be replicated. They can't replicate but about 42% of the 100 thing, right? And basically what we're finding out more and more and more, they're all lying.
Right. I got the
So
grant.
much-
Got to do something.
So much of the PhDs out there, so many of the people out there that are flaunting, I'm doctor this, I'm doctor that, plagiar, like it's insane. And the same thing, I see, I kind of knew that about the research. I've had some experience way back in the day where you start realizing your findings are always going to line up with whoever's paying
Whoever
for it.
financed it. Yeah.
That's right. If it's a certain, you know what, if we need to find certain things in the Gulf of Mexico, you know what we're going to find? Certain things in the Gulf of Mexico.
Certain things. Yeah. There was a study years ago, and people still call on it today that one of the vaccines caused autism, and come to find out that it was a study that couldn't be replicated, and the people who paid for it were a group of attorneys who were trying to sue the manufacturers of the vaccine.
That'll happen. That'll happen. Now, the flip side of that is you listen to like Robert Kennedy Jr. talking about the vaccine. By the way, I'm just realizing the stuff we're talking about, there's no way, man, we're going to get so ratioed. I'm not ratioed or like throttle or whatever, whatever the tube of you and the book of face decides. Yeah. There are certain topics we can always tell. Like I'll even text Juan during the week saying, "Oh man, we must have talked about something that."
Yeah. If you notice, sometimes I back off and I don't include everything in the description, thinking maybe that's doing it.
Maybe we just need to talk about Caitlin Clark some more. Maybe that's
people like that one.
Caitlin Clark's always a popular, and it is. I saw a clip of her today, I like yesterday, and they're basically saying about how she like leads the league, or she was leading the league in turnovers. And it was a funny clip of saying, these are what her turnovers look like. And man, she is hitting people in the freaking hands. She's making these crazy miracle passes, hitting people in the hands, in the face.
Yeah, they said 99% of her turnovers are because somebody can't catch a pass.
It's like, man, how'd you make it into the league? Forget the fact y'all can't shoot layups or 10-foot jump shots. Can you catch a ball? Can you?
Well, it's the same thing. They say the reason that Angel Reese is getting so many rebounds,
she's missing,
is because she's getting her own rebounds.
That's yeah. Four rebounds on that possession. Well, she missed three shots.
Yeah. So, man, she's 75% rebounder.
And right now, right before
25% shooter.
This afternoon, before we got on, there was a story that hit Facebook, and it's happening not far from you because it's and I mean I'm sure it's cleared up right now. I'll try to put the.
I know what you're talking about, dude.
Four overturned 18-wheelers and one passenger car. Where's this at? This is at
and Port out West Baton Rouge.
It says they're on the scene of a crash on I-10 westbound and LA 415 in West Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right as you're coming into Baton Rouge from Lafayette.
Four overturned 18-wheelers and a car, and it dumped 40,000 pounds of candles. First thing I'm thinking of, well, first of all, it's terrible. Hope nobody was seriously hurt.
Right, now I'm sitting down. Was that one truck carrying candles?
I don't know.
More than one?
I don't know. But think that's all melting?
Dude, it was like, oh God, trust me. Yeah, I was at the pool before it came in. It's all melted.
Yeah, I don't it's like, trust me, it could have been worse. I've it's not a hazmat situation, but you think anybody should, picking up, because not all those candles were damaged or destroyed.
No, yeah, somebody,
I wonder if they were like some really nice, like Yankee candle,
I bet
stuff my wife pays a bunch of money for.
I bet you. Here's my bet. tomorrow when you're gonna take exit 4, whatever that is, off the interstate, there's gonna be a couple pop-up tents right there. People selling candles on the side of the road.
Hey, man.
Make me an offer.
With a sign, as seen on TV.
So,
Oh, yeah.
you talk about stuff that built. So my dad told me that yes, it's time of the year and where they're putting chemicals out in the sugarcane fields. Apparently somebody's got an ammonia tank out there. And my niece or my cousin's son, I guess he's like 10 or 11, went out there and opened the valve on a tank, which is probably thousands of dollars worth of stuff in the
Oh,
tank. Well, he couldn't close it because it'd have killed him. I mean, it's ammonia leak.
so he just emptied a tank?
Yeah. He just had to leave.
Saucy job. Gee,
Yeah.
I've done some, I've done some dumb things, but he just thought it'd be a good idea to open the,
I guess he didn't know what it was and thought he could, open it, see what comes out and close it.
and then once he got it open,
Yeah, you can't get back. I mean, and I don't know if it's pure ammonia. I don't know how you would use pure ammonia, but still, yeah. My dad
found
said it
out
was
about it?
basically, I guess the farmer, or I think the little boy had to go home and tell his mom about it. But my dad said, yeah, if he'd have got close to it, tried to close it, it'd have killed him.
Kind of makes you wonder about safety of,
Yeah, farm equipment sitting out there in the
I'm
middle.
just saying, general rule, if you got, a few $1,000 in a barrel or whatever of ammonia
Yeah.
that can
Might
kill a
wanna
kid,
you might want to put a padlock on there.
I'm just, we're not safety directors, although I was at one time.
Hey,
I was.
where at?
Lumcon, bro.
Lumcon, that's what you do.
3 years. I was the safety director. I want to point out we had not one explosion the whole time I was there.
Well, this kid wasn't alive then. So.
Can't tell you how many drunk drivers we had to leave that place, but nothing blew up. Nothing blew
So
up.
my nephew is, I guess it's kind of like safety director. He's been working. He's got a degree as an athletic trainer. He's probably working at the Manning Academy this weekend. But he's been an athletic trainer for high school for a number of years, and just like that part of the job. But he had to teach,
Okay.
and he didn't like the teaching because it was kids who didn't care and whatever. But so they just opened the new Amazon facility here, and so he got a job over there like an athletic trainer, but like for teaching safety and picking up packages.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm sitting down saying, man, that's probably a pretty chill gig.
That's a company covering its butt right there. You got to show. So if you hurt yourself, we can say, hey, we tried training.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's part of, your onboarding procedure.
Dude, when I was at Lumcon, I had to teach a class on radiation safety, man. No lie. Like with the Geiger counter thing and like the radio. I mean, while I was doing that thing, and I think I had to take a class or two to do it. I barely knew what I was doing. I was barely, I may have been giving radiation poisoning to everybody in Cocodrie for all I knew. I mean, I don't think it was that, but I remember that. That was not a fun week for me. I'm doing radiation training. The hell? All right, man.
Oh.
I think it's out there, dude. It was a skewed buffet, but the first half of that buffet.
Yeah. As was the week. Come on, I mean, we try to talk about what's relevant.
It is what it is. We're gonna push the button. Get on out of here. See if any of this stuff stuck to the magic tape in the sky. If you want to reach us, it ain't hard. It's Dave and Juan at protonmail.com, and of course,
right here.
Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. I forget all the names of all the Google,
Amazon.
We're everywhere.
You could find us on iHeart.
Oh yeah, we're on iHeart too. Yeah. So whatever you do when you play the podcast, bend at the knees. Right. Remember, just be safe. Back straight.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Let's say every week. It's not a suggestion, not a hint, not a subtle implication. Everybody, it is a freaking.
It's a freaking mandate.
Mandate. Live your best life. Listen, some folks did not have their best week last week.
No, I don't know that we could do anything about that.
Can't change that now, but you know what? They're still out there. Hey, they had some really bad times, and yet they were able to go to Waffle House.
Exactly.
And do, he followed you.
Yeah,
It's kind of odd, huh? We tell a big old Waffle House story, and then
There he goes.
Our president, after being praised for making a boom boom or whatever she was doing, gets to go to Waffle House.
Happy plate.
So it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, man. God there, live your best life. Try, go for it. And we're going to try to do the same. We wish everybody a fantastic week, a very happy and safe 4th of July celebration. Again, happy birthday to Miss Carol, my mother-in-law. And yeah,
happy birthday.
We'll gather again and see you all next week. Love you, bro.
Back at you, man. This week had my annual physical. We did not do things like they used to. You know, you don't ever have to do the maybe it's because I have a female doctor. You know, I never have to do the cough thing.
Okay.
But I told her, I said, I think I have. I said, I've been feeling like a little lump in my abdomen. And I said, I think I might have a hernia. So I had to go Friday for an ultrasound. And see, most people get one hernia. I'm knocking it out of the park. I got 2.
You got 2 hernias.
I got 2, buddy. I got 2. Both in the same place. But so I'm laying there and, you know, just talking because you could see the screen, and she's going. And then she comes back in the room and said, let's lay down again, I think. Because when she went to look at it, she says, you know, I think I saw a second abnormality.
Oh, Lord.
And I said, what do you mean abnormality? He said, oh, a second hernia. I said, now that's what you're supposed to say. Don't just come up in here and you saw some other second thing. I'm thinking, what I got? Am I dying here?
I got news for you, honey. I am one big abnormality.
It's over. Go home.